Hi and welcome to CrewConnect TV. We are here with Graham Martin, best-selling author of Learning Reimagined. Very
Hello.
Nice to have you
nice
here,
to meet
Graham.
You,
So, Graham, you are here to represent an industry-agnostic view on education. To give us a bit of context, how has education changed in this century, and why did it change?
It's a really good question. So the point about has education changed in this century and why is relevant because actually it hasn't. And I think that's the problem. I think we are, in fact, if anything, actually this century it's gone back in time globally. And I think the reasons of that are curious in the sense that we still, within our school and university systems, use something known as the standard model of education. Now, anyone that's watching this video of anyone that's older than 20 will know this education system. You know, you sit in classrooms, you receive lots of content which you're supposed to remember, so facts and procedures that are siloed by subjects. And then at examination time, you know, whether that's in high school or at university, your job is to vomit that out, to regurgitate all those facts and procedures to get a good grade. Now, that's a system that we still use today. That was a system that was devised at the end of the 19th century, early 20th century. It was designed to output compliant and a consistent quality of office and factory workers, and did very well, actually, to about 1950. But after that, we've had diminishing returns because obviously the world has changed. We went from because that system was designed for the Industrial Revolution, factories and machines and so forth. You know, we had a third Industrial Revolution that was based around desktop computers and networked computers that happened, you know, towards the sort of the end of the 70s, early 80s. So we had a different kind of office worker, but still, nevertheless, that education system was about remembering things and then being able to recite them. Now, we're about to enter into what's known as the fourth industrial revolution, which is characterized by artificial intelligence and automation, self-driving vehicles, even self-piloting ships and vessels, for example. So being able to remember kings and queens and the sort of remember complete texts of books isn't as useful as being able to solve problems and skills. So the answer to your question is actually that it hasn't changed. What's also happened is these large corporations that control the education structure. So the dinosaur textbook makers and measurement industry have calcified the education system to such a degree that we believe that education is about getting good grades at school. But they bear no relation to what's actually happening in the outside world.
So since we established that education hasn't changed, will it change, and how will it change, or how should it change really?
How will education change in the future? I mean, it remains to be seen whether we globally, I mean at governmental level, accept that education has to change, because we are in an environment that fetishizes measurement. So we think if it's measurable, it matters. But the things that we really value in terms of change, so if we think about what's imminent, what's happening now around us in society, there are a couple of converging things. There's the fourth industrial revolution, AI, automation, self-driving cars, gene editing, and so forth. So that is going to have a profound impact on the nature and future of work. So it's not just blue-collar jobs, it's not just factory jobs that are going to disappear. Jobs in accountancy, for example, are going to vanish. Jobs in law, even surgery. 60% of keyhole surgery operations are now performed by a robot because it's a lot safer than being done by a human being. So we're going to see a significant change in the future and nature of work going forward. We're also at the same time we're seeing what I would term as existential challenges. So I'm talking about climate change, I'm talking about population growth, I'm talking about migration being the new normal, and other issues that come with a rapidly growing population. So then we have to think about, well, what is education for? What is school for? Why do we send our children to school? Why do we go to university and so forth? I mean, if it's for getting a job, then the education system isn't doing that. We're already realizing that we've got a massive student debt in the world at the moment. Those degrees don't necessarily guarantee a job for life. In fact, they certainly don't guarantee a job for life. The skill sets that we're having aren't preparing us to solve abstract problems. We're not learning how to learn, we're learning how to remember, and therefore we're learning how to forget. So in terms of how it should change, my belief is that we need to recognize that we shouldn't have an education system that trains young people to compete with machines, but rather nurtures human potential. And there are numerous areas where humans are just far better than machines and will remain better than machines. So, I'm talking about things like social interaction. Anything that requires any form of human social interaction, like counseling or hospitality or teaching, for example. Machines aren't going to be able to do that. You don't have a relationship with a machine. Some people would like to think that you do, but it's just not possible. Also, mobility and dexterity. Thousands of years of evolution, of climbing up trees, walking up mountains, dancing, swimming, and so forth, make us incredibly dexterous and mobile. So anything that requires dexterity and mobility, I think is an area that we're going to be very strong at. But also creativity. So, and I'm not just thinking about creativity in the sort of traditional sense of art, although that is super important, because without art, we don't understand ethics and so forth. But I'm talking about the scientific discovery. Machines don't make scientific discoveries. Machines don't create new businesses. They're not good at entrepreneurs. There's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur. So there are these areas where the education system can maximize human potential, and yet today it's not doing that. But I think the future actually is, far from being difficult. I think it's great. I think the affordances of automation and AI, providing the education system plans for it so we don't have generations of people without work, allows us to sort of automate or robotize the work, but humanize the jobs. And I think that could be a good future.
And since we talk about these 21st century things that robots or automation could never do, what kind of skills are education specialists and the educational system should provide these 21st century people?
So I would say that in terms of the kinds of things that the education system should provide to present and future generations, because first of all, education now we recognize as lifelong. The idea that we might just go to school, then go to university, and that's it for education, we now know is incorrect. So we have to nurture a sense of constantly learning how to learn. There was a quote by the late Alvin Toffler in a book called Future Shock, he wrote in 1970, was that the key literacies to the future wouldn't just be reading and writing, but being able to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So learning how to learn is going to be one of the greatest skills that we can leave our education system with. Because actually the jobs of the future are the ones that machines can't do, and the jobs of the future are the ones that we don't know how to do. And we don't know how to plan for those. So we have to, we'll walk into jobs that we don't know how to do, but we have to know how to learn how to do them. We have to know how to collaborate and so forth. So my sense is that we still need knowledge. It's not that just because we can find it on the end of the internet. I mean, that's also problematic because we need to be able to work out what is true and what isn't, because we live in a world of post-truth at the moment. It's creating lots of challenges. So we still need that ability to discern information and pick information up. But more importantly, we need to be able to apply that knowledge to real-world, relevant challenges that are in context with where we live. So what I might need to be able to know in order to thrive in the Philippines will be different from what I may need to know in order to thrive, say, in England, where I'm from. So there isn't a sort of one-size-fits-all, which is kind of what we've done with the global education system. So we need to unpick that and make an education system that is designed to enable present and future generations to thrive in what is almost certainly a rapidly changing world.
Graham, thank you so much for being here with us.
You're very welcome. I'm pleased to be here. Thank you.
Great.